You've seen so many BYDs, but not this BYD. Or should I call it with its rightful name, Yangwang? Well, no doubt this is the most expensive Chinese SUV ever in history. And in this video, I'm gonna articulate how this car with so much to offer technologically and symbolically makes so much sense at the 1 million price. Guys, meet Yangwang U8. I don't know if the camera fully catches it, but it's huge. I mean, I'll give you the dimension, but somehow I'm not intimidated, but more like intrigued. How did BYD go from this to this? Well, even though there's a lot of merits that goes with the boxy shape, the first up is the E4 platform. You know, 4 means the 4 motors, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and each one tire, each one wheel get 1 motor that generates 300 horsepower and 300 Newton meters of torque individually. All right, if you care to do the math, in total there will be 1,200 horsepower. I mean, that is just insane, right? And there's this searchlight lookalike gadgets in the front of the rooftop. And that's actually the triple lidar of the car. You know, 3 lidars in one car. That would just last time I checked, it's the Lotus Eletre that has 4. Just for information, this car is not a pure electric, but it's a extended range vehicle, so it has an engine right in the front to generate powers for the motors. The engine is 2 liters engine and turboed. By the way, it doesn't have a frunk. You know, apart from all those lidars, this car has 5 millimeter wave radars and 14 ultrasound wave radars and 16 visual cameras. God, just finishing that sentence takes some effort. Just all that contributes to BYD's latest D-Pilot 600 autonomous driving system, and we'll get to that later. Well, 22-inch wheel for the standard, and there's a 20s for the off-road version. Yeah, that's the 2 specs they have. Pretty simple. And there is this aggressive, mighty front face with over 100 dots like glittering. But maybe you cannot see it. There's a transparent light cover to it, which makes up a Chinese character of being. That is regarded directly as a symbol of majesty. Well, considering BYD has a car model that is dynasty, I think this car is just the ultimate fantasy coming true. Okay, inside the cabin is the place that gets seriously fancy. You know, right in front of me is 3 displays laying out, and the central one is a little bit curvy, right? And the dash, all Bentley look-alike, and very fancy, very exquisite with all those leathers and handles. And this car has more physical buttons and toggles than I anticipated. Okay, I'll go through it. And here is the differential lock. Engine start and off, and this is a ride height adjustment, and this is the ESP. Now, for the upper one, the E4 controls the power and all those fancy features like tank turning. Auto parking, Yunnian, which controls the up and downs of the ride. And yeah, we got all those AC things going on. Yeah, it's pretty friendly to people like me who are really into like physical buttons. 2 wireless charge, 50 watts in the dash, and cup holders. And you got this. Well, I know this, it's not a really big space, but actually, if you press down, and there's a fridge underneath. Okay, for the central screen, I used to, you know, the first time I got into the car, looking at the big frames, I was like, really, this car is $1 million price? No. But after, you know, pick up and get on with it, I started to feel like that this curved screen actually has some advantages. Like, yeah, it feels good and doesn't have a lot of reflections. And for every corner, you can just press it without any problems. And there's actually a lot to play in this infotainment system. Like everything is laid out, and you can see this is homepage, AC, settings, and this is all those fancy features that make you feel good. about the seats, ventilation, heating, and massage. Oh, by the way, this is both in the front and back. Yeah, massage. And we got more, like all those apps. Yeah, it's good. And it feels smooth and fast. It's good. You know, comfort-wise, this car is doing a really good job canceling the noise. You see the windshield front and back, and the 4 door windows are all dual pane glasses. And the 87% of the car is specifically wrapped to denoise. And all that just to make sure all the people inside the car could really enjoy themselves with the 22 speakers Dynaudio bespoke sound system. That is fantastic. Whew. The back seat is more like a proper cave for any human being. You see, it got everything, I think more than you need, like ventilation, heating, massage, and even backseat angle. Well, this one, just pay attention. You got a really huge and really big sitting cushion, and which is really nice for a long drive or a long ride. And if you just lay down and just turn on your screen, you can just chill the f out the binge watching, which is way too good if you're just earned your seat here. Then you can pull this down, and here's a, you know, a panel to tweak around with everything. You got music, seats, AC system, and all those windows and black folds. And even there's a starlight roof like Rolls-Royce. Whoa. You know, they may look different, but anyway, it does have one, right? You know, a lot of people online were talking about they want to have a third row in this car because, as you can see, this is a 5-seater. I'm looking forward to it too. Like, what's your point on this? Would you like a 5-seater or more like a MPV layout like Mega? So we get on the road, and I've been driving this car for the past 36 hours, and I definitely have something to say. First up is the E4 power. This is monstrous, I would phrase. Within just 4 seconds, I could push the car. No, I should punch the car from still to 100 kilometers per hour. However, being blistering fast is just the tip of the iceberg. As I said before, there are 4 motors in this car. Each of their power goes to one wheel. So basically the 2 of them on the same axle would be able to make same output anywhere, anytime you want. So practically, you get a differential lock. So you don't actually need a real lock like all those off-road runners in the past. And that brings up the question, what are these 2 doing here? Well, actually, they're not lock. They kind of, if they're just lock, they're doing what's been done. Actually, when one wheel lost grip, all its power, well, it goes to the other wheel on the same axle. You see, that its power combines, but not just lock. I know that's a revolutionary definition of differential lock, but that's basically how it is. So you turn a bipedal machine into a 4-footed robot, which is just unbelievable. Well, for another case of emergency like a flat tire, for a conventionally power car, coming out in one piece would be highly up to driver's maneuver because that totally pushed the car out of balance. But with the E4 and the 4 motors, the system would adjust the output in no time and to keep it going steadily. And that completely changed the game. In the tank mode, forward and backward spinning of different tires, floating on water for over half an hour. Well, you can just imagine a dog swimming. All that needs individual, independent control over wheels by respective motors. And there it is. And there is the Yunnian suspension. It has double wishbones both in the front and back, and they're using hydraulics. What it does is basically goes up and down within 200 millimeters. And here's a trick for its capability over obstacles. You see, the system was set in the program, was set in a way that the hydraulics work in pairs, but diagonally. For example, like the front left wheel, if it's pushed back up, the left back wheel will be pushed down to the ground equally, just to make the car hold on to the surface as much as possible. And that just gives this car a really high point in the RTI test. But comparing to fellow hydraulic cars like Panamera or Neo ET9, this car has an extra set of actual springs. Probably because it's too, heavy. It's over 3.5 ton. And that just complicates all the tunings and calibrating works. So during my drive, I definitely feel some body roll, especially in turns. And I believe there's a couple hundred kilograms to lose, but they're doing a good job supporting my body by this. There's an airbag, like electric. When you're turning, it will just push you back into the right place, which is really good. And it gives me really a lot of confidence to drive through different terrains. And yeah, that's a big one. And you might be wondering, driving this car, could it be costly since it's huge and it's fast? Well, I'll just give you an open result by a U8 owner who happens to be a car content creator. It has a 75-liter tank and a 49 kilowatt hour battery. According to the official, it can go over 1,000 kilometers. Well, I know 1,000 might be a little bit of a stretch, but I do get something out of 550 to 650. For that, I think, not bad. The last but not the least, smart drive. BYD hasn't started to make smart drive cars since recently, so they're just using a package from Momenta, a Chinese AI company who also have businesses to do in autonomous driving. 导航去 T3 航站楼。
请选择第几个？
第一个。Based on what we have learned from the test drive, the all-around NOA took some burden off. Definitely way better than previous BYD models in terms of speed control, smartness, and audacity. And I kind of like the AR HUD right in front of me because the indicator was on the actual lane. It just helps me with the read. And this info screen is good. I love the FPS. But it's not end-to-end, so it's not like super smart or super agile, but I think they will figure something out. Safe to say this car is strong, aggressive, advanced, and even underpriced. BYD has demonstrated their capability and ambitions throughout all those previous models, and that just keeps me wondering, would BYD really up their image again and strike the world?